Welcome back for a brand new episode of Tommy Pom Gaming, where I review and play the coolest video games ever. Today, I have a special treat for you. I'm going to talk about the video game Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga Collection. If you're a fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you probably know that they are a group of 4 mutant turtles who fight crime and eat pizza in New York City. They were created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird in 1984 as a comic book series, and since then they have become a global phenomenon with multiple animated shows, movies, toys, and of course, video games. Once again, welcome to another episode of Tommy Pom. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit that bell button so you don't miss any of my new videos. If you are already subscribed, then I thank you so much. The Cowabunga Collection is a compilation of 13 video games based on the Teenage Mutant Ninja franchise, developed by Konami between 1989 and 1994. It includes different games such as action, beat 'em up, platform, and fighting games. The compilation was developed by Digital Eclipse and released by Konami for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Windows, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. The Cowabunga Collection adds some features to the original games. It also has an in-game museum with rare development materials, sketches, and game designs for the titles. The games that are included in the Cowabunga Collection are the following: Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade. This is the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game, released in 1989. It is a side-scrolling beat-em-up game where you can play as one of the 4 turtles: Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, or Michelangelo. You have to fight your way through 6 stages, facing enemies like the Foot Clan, Bebop, Rocksteady, Baxter Stockman, and the Shredder. The game supports up to 4 players, and it's one of the most popular and successful arcade games of all time. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time Arcade. This is the sequel to the first arcade game, released in 1991. It is also a side-scrolling beat-em-up game, but with improved graphics, sound, and gameplay. The game has a time travel theme where you have to chase the Shredder through different eras such as the prehistoric, the Wild West, the future, and more. The game also supports up to 4 players, and it's widely considered as one of the best arcade games ever made. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 Turtles in Time for Super Nintendo. This is a port of the second arcade game, but this time for the Super Nintendo. Released in 1992, it is similar to the arcade version, but with some enhancements, such as improved graphics, sound, and gameplay. The game has some new stages, such as the pirate ship and the Neon Knight Riders. The game also has a new final boss, Super Shredder, who is exclusive to this version. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters, Super Nintendo. This is a different version of the fighting game for the SNES, released in 1993. It has a different roster of characters, including the 4 turtles, April O'Neil, Casey Jones, Asuka, Wingnut, Chrome Dome, War, and Cyber Shredder. The game has more features than the NES version. Hyperstone Heist for Sega Genesis. This is the only Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game for the Sega Genesis, released in 1992. It is a side-scrolling beat-em-up game, similar to the arcade games but with some differences. The game has a new story where the Shredder uses the Hyperstone, a powerful artifact, to shrink New York City and the Statue of Liberty. You have to stop him and restore the city to its normal size. The game has 5 stages, some of which are based on the arcade games and some of which were original. The game supports up to 2 players and is one of the best Genesis games of its genre. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters Sega Genesis. This is another different version of the fighting game, but for the Sega Genesis this time. Released in 1993, it has a different roster of characters, including the 4 Turtles, April O'Neil, Casey Jones, Ray Fillet, Sisyphus, Triceraton, Krang, and Karai. It also has different modes, such as Story, Versus, and Tournament. The game has fewer features than the Super Nintendo version, such as no superpower moves, but it has some unique features such as a power meter and a desperation move. The game is considered a decent fighting game on the Genesis, but not as good as the Super Nintendo Entertainment System version. Then we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles NES. This is the first Teenage Mutant Ninja game for the Nintendo Entertainment System, released in 1989. You have to explore the city, the sewers, and the Technodrome, while fighting enemies and avoiding traps. The game is known for being very difficult and having some frustrating sections. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, also for NES. This is a port of the first arcade game, but for NES, released in 1990. It is similar to the arcade version, but with some changes, such as fewer enemies on screen, different music, and 2 new stages. The game supports up to 2 players and is one of the best-selling NES games of all time. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, The Manhattan Project, also for NES. This is the 3rd Teenage Mutant Ninja game for the Nintendo Entertainment System, released in 1992. It is a direct sequel to the 2nd Nintendo Entertainment System game, and it's also a side-scrolling beat-em-up game. The game has a new story where the Shredder kidnaps April O'Neil and lifts Manhattan Island into the sky. You have to rescue April and stop the Shredder's plan. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters, also for NES. This is the 4th and final Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Released in 1993, you can fight against a computer or another player in one-on-one matches. The game has different modes, such as Story, Versus, and Tournament. The game is notable for being one of the few fighting games on the Nintendo Entertainment System, and for having a high level of difficulty. Now we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fall of the Foot Clan for Game Boy. This is the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game for the Game Boy, released in 1990. It is an action and platform game where you can play as any of the 4 turtles. You have to rescue April O'Neil and Splinter from the Shredder and the Foot Clan. The game has 5 stages, each with a boss at the end. The game is known for being very easy and short, but also for having good graphics and music for the Game Boy. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Back from the Sewers, also for Game Boy. This is the 2nd Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game for the Game Boy, released in 1991. It's a sequel to the first Game Boy game, and it's also an action and platform game. The game is similar to the first Game Boy game, but with some improvements such as more enemies, more weapons, and more variety in the stages. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Radical Rescue, also for Game Boy. This is the 3rd and final game for the Game Boy, released in 1993. It is a different type of game. It is a Metroidvania style game, where you have to explore a large map and find items and abilities to progress. You start as Michelangelo, who has to rescue the other turtles, Splinter and April, who have been captured by the Shredder. The game is considered to be one of the best Game Boy games of its genre, and one of the most underrated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games ever made. I played a lot of these games when I was a kid, more than 30 years ago, and I loved them then and I still love them now. They're all good fun in their own way, and they're a fantastic collection. So that's the Cowabunga Collection, a must-have for any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon to get notified for all of my next videos. Also, let me know in the comments what you think of the game. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on another episode of Tommy Pom.